You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It's Thursday, December 12th, 2019. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. And we have got a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. Now, I'm sitting here watching with this debate going on in committee, leading up to the vote to send the articles of impeachment to the full House for a vote there, where it's probably going to pass. But there's already a lot of people are getting some cold feet here. Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives are taking on the moderate Dems, seeking censure over impeachment. They're saying it's one of the dumbest ideas they've ever seen, and it all depends on what your objective is. If it's to get rid of Donald Trump, obviously censure is not going to work there. But there are a lot of very vulnerable Democrats out there, and they're looking at the new poll numbers showing that the majority of Americans do not want Trump removed from office. It's a very tight polling. But it's now a minority that supports removing Trump from office, which means it's the minority that isn't really thinking about the actual arguments being made in the case. They don't need the facts and the truth. They have feelings. We have feelings. We want Trump to be gone. That's all that matters. My wants and my feelings. Oh. Anyway, so-called moderate Democrat Slotkin, who pushed for the impeachment in the first place, is suddenly undecided because her chances of winning in 2020 are in decline. And that's true for another 31 Democrats who are serving in districts that Trump won in 2016. And apparently they're starting to feel the anger. And so far, there's like about 9 of them who are either already said they're going to vote no, or they're already kind of waffling. This is the full House vote we're talking about here. And Pelosi can only lose 18. I'm sure in the back rooms there's a lot of arm twisting going on, and we're gonna log roll here. We're gonna get you your pet project funded. All you have to do is vote to impeach Donald Trump and let the Senate take care of it. Senator Cruz is out there saying there's zero evidence that any actual law was broken. They're not even alleging that a law was broken. It's just using impeachment as a campaign tool. And there was a guy that was just on the live feed from the Judiciary Committee saying that in the first 200 years of the United States history, there was only one impeachment. And now here we are at the dawn of the 21st century, and we're already up to number 3. And the Democrats are trying to lower the bar on what constitutes an impeachable offense, ignoring the very clear directives set forth in the Constitution. And of course, all sides in this matter are all saying, I'm only here to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Well, it's subject to your own interpretation here. But apparently, only 994 people tuned in to watch the impeachment hearing here in committee. And obviously I'm one of those, and I guess that's down to 993. They are expecting a vote from the committee to send the impeachment to the full House floor by the end of business today. And everybody's coming in with their closing statements here. They're trying to do the wrap up, score some final points here. And I don't know why they're bothering. This is a study in foregone conclusions. It will go out of committee to the full House floor. More than likely, it's going to pass there, and Donald Trump will have been technically impeached. Whether the Senate will remove him or not is another matter entirely. And I'm starting to get a little bit nervous over the fact that Republicans in the Senate don't seem well motivated to allow Donald Trump to have his say and present his side of the story in all of this. It's like they're getting ready to throw him under the bus because it's going to curry favor with the next incoming administration, which more and more looks like it's going to be Hillary Clinton. Now, Inspector General Michael Horowitz is now backtracking a bit on the conclusions he made in his report, and he's backtracking on the no bias claims because he can't say that the errors he found, at least 17 in the case of the Carter Page visa application, he can't say that the errors weren't caused by political bias. And yesterday we commented on the fact if there was no bias, then one would expect all of these errors and omissions to sort of split, across the line. Some would help Donald Trump, some would harm Donald Trump. But in the case of all of these errors and omissions that IG Horowitz found, all of them harmed Donald Trump. And that is a very remote statistical possibility. All right, now Barr is out there giving interviews. He's been talking real tough about the FBI, but he's starting to drop hints that the Durham report, John Durham's criminal investigation into the origins of Russiagate, it will not be forthcoming for another 6 months. In other words, it's just another stalling tactic. All right, interesting little article. This came out of Investment Watch blog. And it basically says when the government admits they don't know what they've been doing and have nothing to show for $1 trillion in tax money that they've wasted, you've got a problem. And what they're talking about here is the Washington Post finally remembering what it's like to be a real newspaper and running this article on these documents showing that the Pentagon has been lying to us all about the status of the war in Afghanistan. 18 years that's been running. If you remember the original Pentagon Papers scandal, that got a lot more coverage from the corporate media, not because of what was in the paper so much, but because it wound up going all the way to the Supreme Court in terms of a newspaper's right to publish. And I wish this was getting a little more coverage right now, because these Afghanistan papers are just as damning of the military-industrial complex as the original Pentagon papers were. You've got these military leaders, political leaders, just wanted to keep the money flowing to the military-industrial complex. They knew the war in Afghanistan was unwinnable, just like they knew they couldn't prevail in Vietnam, but they kept pouring the money and pouring our kids all over these conflicts because nobody wanted to be the bad guy and stand up and say, this isn't working. And it's time for us to just get the heck out of there, admit defeat, muster as much dignity as we can, and head home. In the case of Vietnam, of course, that dignity was, 11 Marines dangling from the bottom of a Huey helicopter as they bugged out of Saigon? So maybe that's what is missing in the Afghanistan papers, that graphic image showing the U.S. forces having to leave Afghanistan. Because when the Soviet Union had to leave Afghanistan, oh boy, was the media coverage there to film them crossing the bridges and taking their tanks back home. And they were just having a heyday. Well, now we know that the United States has bit off more than it can chew with regard to Afghanistan. they've known apparently for some time they can't win in Afghanistan. I mean, after all, the last military commander to actually conquer all of Afghanistan was Alexander the Great, and he only held on to it for 3 years. It's a very, very tough place. It's been called the graveyard of empires. The British learned that the hard way. The Soviet Union learned that the hard way. And now the United States is learning that the hard way. We have a lot of wishful thinkers inside the military-industrial complex saying, well, I know in the past this has been a disaster and that's been a disaster and we shouldn't go there. But, this time it'll be different because, we've got amazing weaponry and we've got much smarter people and, it'll work out different this time. No, it didn't. Lost. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Joe in Tennessee. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I couldn't watch too much of it today. I'm just totally maxed out on this impeachment stuff, and it's like so boring. But the one bit I did catch was a Republican congressman talking about the damage this impeachment would do to the institution of Congress. And I was like, bingo!
Yep.
That's what we elected Trump to do. And I've been thinking about, like, the amount of credibility and the destruction of the reputation of these institutions that have happened under the Trump presidency, and I couldn't be more thrilled. The FBI is in shambles; its reputation is destroyed, and the more they fight and cover up, the worse it's going to be. By the time this is over, they'll probably have to just rename it from the FBI because of the right now most Americans, especially for the law-abiding patriots, are just fed up with the FBI. The CIA is totally. Brennan did a number on the CIA, and there's more to come out about the CIA. The mainstream media in Hollywood, oh my God, they've destroyed their reputation thanks to Trump and all this stuff. The State Department.
Well, I'd like to think that we had a little hand in helping that along ourselves over here at RBN.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, we catapulted a lot of the information. I mean, I'm just saying, what's been happening since Trump was elected, the exposure of the mainstream media to people like us that are informed. We have our community, but with Trump, he's bringing it to like people that never saw the what was going on. I mean, he's red-pilling millions and millions of patriotic Americans that we never could have reached because they're all in their Fox News bubble, and Trump is getting them out of it. Watch a Trump rally. I mean, those people are being red-pilled. And let's see, the establishment families, for instance, in the political dynasties, the Clinton dynasty has been ruined, the Bush dynasty, guys like Romney, the corruption, the rhinos are really being exposed. The State Department, that last hearing there, just showed how they're all a bunch of deep state stooges. The intellectuals and the intelligentsia, showed their hand at this last hearing with the professors there. It's like they tell you, you see with your own eyes what's going on, and they tell you what you see isn't true. It's like, and it's people aren't buying that anymore. They're just because he wears a bow tie and he speaks fancy words doesn't mean people just aren't buying their soap anymore, I guess you could say. Rhinos are on the war party is being exposed. So it really does seem like what Trump's, the Trump presidency, and I'm not just saying it's Trump, I'm saying that Trump's enemies do more to destroy themselves, and Trump might just be sitting around like the guy in Being there, while people just by trying to destroy him, they destroy themselves. It's remarkable to see. I've never seen anything like it. And he's just so nonchalant about, I mean, have you ever really seen him lose his temper? I mean, he puts out some witty tweets and stuff, but you never hear him screaming or losing his temper, and all the attacks he's been under, it's remarkable. So, I think years ago, back before the 60s, the leftists said, we're going to march through the institutions. We're going to take the institutions of this country. And they did. And now the patriots, being because of Trump, and they're exposing themselves, the left and the globalists, we're going to destroy the institution. They're in the process of destroying the institutions, and we haven't really had to do that much except expose it. And I just think it's such a remarkable time to be alive. I mean, it's just, and I hope they do impeach him, and I hope there's a long trial in the Senate. But I doubt it, because most of those senators, Lindsey Graham and McConnell, they all their family, I'm sure, are getting some kind of kickback from this money going to Ukraine. I mean, I saw Lindsey Graham getting a medal from the ex-president of Ukraine, with him and John McCain both, who's a very corrupt man, the ex-president. You got Romney's family is involved in this, Pelosi's family. The last thing they want is to start, have Giuliani over there digging around and bringing up the corruption, because it goes deep. The Heinz family is involved in this. So I think that you won't see a trial in the Senate, but I think Trump would love to have a trial in the Senate. I'd love to have a real trial. Let's get some real information,
I absolutely agree. And, there's a lot of House Republicans that are still angry over the way that Adam Schiff literally shut out any GOP cross-examination of the witnesses, any GOP witnesses in general. That's not due process. That's a kangaroo court. That's a star chamber. And they were hoping they were sort of going to get their turn at bat over in a potential Senate trial. But like I said, I'm hearing all these disturbing signals that the Senate is saying, well, we just don't have the taste for this. And, we're going to expedite the impeachment. Which basically tells me that the Republican-controlled Senate are getting ready to throw Trump under the bus.
Well, I don't think they're going to remove him from office. I think they're just going to acquit him and be done with the whole thing. And then that's kind of the plan. Because if they actually remove Trump, there's no Republican could ever win ever again. I mean, because 70% of the people that vote for Mitch McConnell are Trumpers. So that'll never happen. I think what they're gonna do is do a quick acquittal, so they never have to call Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. They're just gonna say the charges are ridiculous, because they don't really want a trial. They don't want just like Schiff wouldn't let the Republicans bring their side of the story, and he showed what a kangaroo court it was, which is a good thing. And let's see. I mean, I love to see them show take the glove off the velvet hand, right? And let's show the fascism, right? The best way to show a tyrant is to to expose them. Let them, and they're exposing themselves, and that's the wonderful thing about this whole thing. I've said all along, as a Trump supporter, let it come, let it happen, because even if they shut it all down, people are going to go, hey, what do you mean? Why'd they shut it down? I wanted to see Hunter Biden. I wanted to see, what was going on over there. I wanted Trump to get his witnesses. And then look into all these. It's funny, Mike. I was thinking, all these sons of all these politicians, you don't hear the left talk about white privilege, do you? But these are all white guys, Romney's boy, Pelosi's boy, yep. Heinz family boy, Kerry's boy. This is the epitome of white privilege. These guys all went to Ivy League schools, these connected schools. They go in there, they get government money that we're giving to the Ukrainians, and they suck off it. But you won't hear any liberals or any of these race pimps talk about this. You want to talk about white privilege, everybody? Here's your example. Hunter Biden, there's a poster child for the Americans of white privilege, real true white privilege. They always try to call some working guy or some guy like me we're white privilege. But boy, when it's a politician's son, it's Hunter Biden and Jay Hyde, these guys don't have enough privilege, but they got to go steal money, through our aid in Ukraine and start. They did the same thing in Poland. They did that. That's part of the reason we got Putin in Russia, is because Yeltsin let these kind of privileged kids go in there and rape Russia. So there you go. I'm sorry I get going on this and I start meandering.
Yeah, you do, but unfortunately, we're coming up here to the end of this segment. We got a commercial break, and then we've got another caller waiting on the line. So thank you very much for the phone call, Joe. We're going to let you go here. And when we come on back, we're going to be talking with Steve Elkins more about the impeachment. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the House Judiciary, who are still trying to debate this back and forth before voting to send it to the full House floor. Okay, we'll be back after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. I'm still watching this little circus going on over in the House Judiciary Committee. And like I said, it's a study in foregone conclusions, although they did have one attempt to put a rider, an amendment, on the articles of impeachment. And oddly enough, it was a tie vote. So I don't know who is supposed to be there that didn't show up. Anyway, let's go back to the phones here. Steve Elkins, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I think it'll make its way to the Senate, the impeachment, and as the last caller said, it'll kind of be brushed over and he'll be acquitted. It's interesting that the charges that they piled on earlier with treason and extortion and everything else they could think of, bribery, quid pro quo, everything else they could add on there until when they get down to the very end of the line and they put on the dotted line what the charges actually are. They're coming up only with 2, obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. Whatever happened to the others? I mean, that's kind of interesting. But why it's not going to happen? He's not right. He's not going to be removed because the economy is halfway decent. At least that's what we're being told, and people still believe it. And Congress knows that. Now, if the Congress decides to remove and all hell breaks loose and the markets take a big tumble, well, then that they're going to be held accountable for that because they made a change of the leadership and caused the markets to collapse. and that will haunt them when it comes election time. So they're going to brush over this. Also going to the Senate and actually doing a hearing would actually open up more what's going on with the deep state, who the players probably are, more about the Hillary Rodham Clinton, all the baggage with that. Going back to Spygate, if you want to break down Spygate, the whole thing, it's quite amazing pyramid if you look at it. And they don't want that. The deep state doesn't want that. So I'm sure they got their hooks into the Senate already saying, hey, don't go there. We got a way out of this. Let's brush over this. Let's say, okay, bad boy or whatever, maybe even censure possibly. Other than that, it's going nowhere because the economy is halfway decent. At least that's what we're told.
Well, as you say, that's what we're being told, and I think there's a serious disconnect going on between what corporate media tells us the economy's doing and what we're really seeing happen out there. And of course, the Democrats would be perfectly happy for the economy to implode right now because they'd blame Trump and a GOP administration for it, even though the stage was set for this economic downturn by Obama's 2 terms in office. All right, so we're going to go back to the phones here. Glenn in Philadelphia. And Glenn, I'm probably going to take you through the next commercial break. What's on your mind?
All righty. Very good. Hi, Mike. This is now for something completely different. Just a brief aside about the fire on the Russian ship, the Admiral Kuznetsov, their only aircraft carrier. I just want to suggest this is an classic insurance fire. They want to get rid of this lame duck aircraft carrier. It's of a unique design. It has the parabolic deck, the curvature on the deck. The last time they took it out of mothballs, they lost a couple of fighters from crashes with the thing. It's not really part of their overall global power projection scenario, strategy as the aircraft carrier squadron is for us. And it's just classic embarrassment. This way they can get rid of the thing by saying it was a tragic accident without having to admit that it's a mistake and they have to get rid of it.
Well, that's certainly one possibility, and we know that the militaries of the world can really get into some boondoggles. Certainly here in the United States, the F-35 has turned out to be a real disaster. But the Russian government technically owns that ship, and I don't know that they need to pull off some kind of a deception to simply say, we're going to decommission the ship. It hasn't worked out. We're going to divert the money used for operating this ship into building newer vessels that are more able to deal with the power projection from the United States of America. And we're not doing all that good with our carriers either. If you look at all the problems with the Gerald R. Ford, they can't get the radars to sync up. That magnetic rail catapult system is actually breaking aircraft. The elevators aren't working properly.
We have a tendency to decommission well-working systems before we have superior or equivalent things in place. The repeated attempts to decommission the A-10 Thunderbolt II, the Warthog aircraft, that's a classic example. I toured the Fairchild plant near Baltimore as a kid in college when they were building that thing. It was in its heyday. That plays a very unique role in tactical air support. They tried to get rid of it several times, and it always turns out to be a huge mistake.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Pentagon will dump working operational systems because their hand is out for the next generation replacement. The A-10 has had its day. We need to build the next tank buster. But you're right about the Thunderbolt. Very, very effective. Okay, Glenn, stay on the line.
Thank you. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
All right, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Glenn in Philadelphia. And Glenn, before we go back to talking about obsolete or maybe not obsolete weapons systems here, again, I'm watching the televised House Judiciary Committee debates, and ranking committee member Doug Collins has apparently reached his breaking point, and he's uncorking on everybody, on the Democratic side, saying, look, we have addressed all of these issues before. You don't have any evidence to support them. I sort of presumed that we were all going to go to lunch, come back, have the vote, and that would be it. And instead, we're in rerun city. And it seems like the Democrats' only hope is that the audience that wasn't watching this morning, and remember, the numbers are only 994, are watching tonight, and they can keep on just making that same point to the American people. But as political theater, it's lousy. It's certainly not reaching its audience. And Doug Collins is absolutely right. They're just trying to use repetition to convince you that something is true when there is no evidence to support it. And again, I'm very disappointed in Trump, especially with this executive order he's just signed saying that Judaism is not just a religion, it's a nationality. which is kind of like saying Muslims are a nationality or Christians are a nationality. I'm very disappointed in him, but I support the Republic, Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the rule of law versus the rule by powerful and corrupt individuals. And so I hope Doug Collins sways a few votes to his side. Okay, so Glenn, we were talking about the government knowingly throwing out working systems in their rush to get the money for a replacement. And we know that a lot of M16s, which won in the competition against the M14, they've now been sold off surplus to other countries to make way for the Heckler and Koch replacement. But it's all about the money, and these officers will go into the Pentagon. They'll get involved in a weapons development program. They'll feed a lot of money to their favorite defense contractor. Then they'll retire from military service at a full pension. Plus, they're getting a paycheck from the defense contractor as a special consultant. And they just live high on the hog at the taxpayer's expense, one way or the other. I mean, if you follow that money trail, it always goes back to you ordinary Americans. And it's all about cranking product through the mill and keeping the wars going. And it reminds me very much of Oliver Stone's JFK movie when Garrison goes up to Washington, D.C. To meet the mysterious Mr. X, which most people think was based on Fletcher Prouty. And Mr. X says, there was, no war, no money, no political influence. Then all of a sudden we get cranked up in Vietnam. General Dynamics is making money hand over fist. They're going into, intense lobbying to keep the war going. And that is another reason why we stayed in Vietnam, even though the leadership knew we were losing. It was making money for the defense contractors, and who knows which of these players, Nixon, McNamara, maybe they had stock in these defense contractors in their portfolio. That's why there's supposed to be a presidential blind trust. Anyway, Glenn, I've mouthed off enough. What's your opinion on all this?
Well, if you remember that, and this stuff always comes back to bite us, and it bites them, but unfortunately it bites other people as well. If you remember the body armor scandal.
Oh, I remember that one.
That's a classic example of failed, poorly engineered equipment leading to the death, directly to the deaths of soldiers, and it came back to bite a lot of people. But this, in this new Top Gun movie, we see Tom Cruise. We see him flying, and not some other aircraft, but the F-18 Super Hornet, which is one of the few highly functional fighters we still have in the fleet, and yet you hear stories about the parts shortages, cannibalizing of planes for parts and stuff to keep a minimum number of them airborne. And that's one plane.
I thought that was the older Hornet, and it wasn't as much a problem with the Super Hornet because it had all different spare parts. I know it's been a real problem with the Blue Angels. The Blue Angels are out there having to scavenge parts to keep their aircraft in the air at the air shows.
They could put, when the Air Force chose between, I had a captain in ROTC who sat on the Air Force committees choosing between the F-18 Hornet and the F-16. And the F-16 was chosen because it was cheaper. But I don't know about you. If I were going up in a fighter, I'd rather have two engines in case one fails or gets shot than one. But if they would... the F-16 is it has a checkered past. It's called the lawn dart designation, where they originally crashing with a hurricane bolts and all that stuff.
Yes.
If they would give the F-18 Super Hornet to the Air Force and pump some money into keeping the F-18 Hornet as the frontline fighter while they wait for the F-15X, there's still an F-15. It's a highly functional airframe, and they're coming out with a new version of the F-15. Yes, and a lot of this, I think, is its inspiration from modifications that Israel does when we send them over our planes over there, and they kind of rework them until they're more highly functional. And so we've got a new version of the F-15 coming out. You're not hearing much about the F-22 Raptor. That's because that thing's never going to see the fulfillment of its production run. The F-35, they send them out on unopposed bombing runs and then tout the fact that they used F-35s. Well, that thing, yeah, sure. And in an environment in which you have total air superiority and almost no opposition from the ground, yeah, they can fly that thing in and drop some bombs. But if you ever get into a situation that involves some serious contention, those F-35s are going to need escorts from F-18 Super Hornets or F-15Xs. And so we need to use what works, even if some of these old, like I said, the F-15 is just an amazing airframe that has proven itself over and over. So, and you often go into the naval aspect of things, all the failed newer Navy stuff. Let's concentrate on what works for a while until the superiority of something new is genuinely proven, and can be implemented. But right now we have a lot of high tech garbage.
Yes.
It's not going to serve us.
And again, I want to refer people to this movie, The Pentagon Wars, directed by Richard Benjamin. And it's based on a true story. It's based on the book of the same name about how the Pentagon spent $15 billion with a B developing the Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle, which basically started out as kind of an Uber to get the troops to the front line so they'd arrive, without being exhausted from, tramping over the ground. And things were added to it and seats were taken out. And it was just turned into this Frankenstein's monster of all the stuff being added on. I remember when Claire and I were still living on Oahu, we went out to the air show at the Kaneohe Marine Air Station. And one of the things that we saw there was a Seahawk F variant submarine hunting helicopter. And over on the port side were all the launchers for sonobuoys. And there was this gizmo attached to the nacelle that blocked off a large number of these launching tubes. And I was asking the guy, why is this thing here? And he said, they ordered us to put it on. And there's a lot of military procurement where that's what it comes down to. Somebody with a vested financial interest in this or that defense company, simply buys up a bunch of junk and orders it to be put into the field.
Well, Ali, if I was a soldier on the ground right now, I would be comforted by seeing or hearing F-18 Super Hornets or A-10s over my head. A-10s in close for tactical support. And the air superiority run by the F-18s, because granted, the F-18 cannot outfly the Sukhois, the Russian Sukhois, but they really don't have that many of those. We could field a large number of the Super Hornets and still rely on numbers, in a sense, numerical superiority, with a somewhat less proficient aircraft. You put 2 or 3 Hornets on a Sukhoi and it can ballet around as much as it wants. It's not gonna win. If it's outnumbered. So, but anyway, this is very frustrating. But anyway, that's the main thing. The Kuznetsov, I think, is a way. This could be. I'm suggesting that, just raising the question. This could be an opportunity to save face by lamenting the loss of something that they really wanted to get rid of anyway.
Well, I do know that it was a sizable fire. I know that it's very stupid welding near the fuel tanks. I think the last report I had was that some 600 square meters of the flight deck had been damaged. But for an aircraft carrier, that's not all that much.
Yeah, but that parabolic deck never really worked out, as well as they have. Like I said, the last time they tried to use it, they lost a couple of fighters. With crashes and such. So I think it's pretty much
that may be the lack of a similarly configured deck on land where the pilots can practice and not risk having a problem. I mean, the idea of an upturned front on the deck of an aircraft carrier is not a new idea. The Brits have been doing it for years. And it basically, they pioneered the idea to allow Harriers to get into the air with a full weapons load versus the old system where the Harriers, if they were going to use the vertical takeoff, they had to sort of pull back on the weapons loadout, and that made them less effective.
Right. Well, sometimes the Harriers go into the air, sometimes they go into the water, sometimes they go into the deck. You know,
well,
so
that's true for everything out there. I mean, again, when Claire and I were living on Oahu, they had these two Sikorsky large helicopters that just vanished off the north shore of Oahu. They never did find them. And we used to see the training flights of the V-22 Ospreys going overhead. And there's been a high failure rate with the Ospreys.
The Osprey, yeah, they used to make those right around in my area here. In the Philly area, and the Ospreys had it. They I think that's fairly stabilized. The Marines make pretty good use of it, but some of the helicopters, that was such solid technology that like some of the Chinooks in the air today were built before I was born.
Yes,
in 1960. So I mean. We had that SEAL team scandal where the SEAL team died in a Chinook.
Yeah.
And I would have to really think twice before getting on board one of those because, I mean, that they are exceedingly old, you know, and yet it wouldn't take that much to build newer versions of the same thing.
No, it wouldn't take that much, and you know, the design is certainly proven. And it's things like the old C-47 transport plane was used in Vietnam for Puff the Magic Dragon as an aerial gunship. They're still around today. In fact, CIA was using them to run drugs out of Central America into the United States of America. It's a good, robust design. Believe it or not, the Ford Motor Company only ever went into the aviation business for one aircraft. It was the Ford Tri-Motor. Those are still out there operating.
Right. Well, yeah, the classic thing is in Romancing the Stone where you see the DC-3,
yes.
Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner on that. I mean, how many DC-3s are still tooling around Central and South America, you know? But we just had a C-130 go down out of Chile the other day, but it was heading to the Antarctic. But that's a very rare occurrence. And the C-130, I flew up to Boston one time on a C-123, which was the two-engine, a predecessor of the C-130, a very very noisy aircraft. But the C-130 has fulfilled so many roles. It's a long-term cruising aircraft for the Coast Guard.
Yes.
It's a hurricane plane. It's the C-130 is one of the most stable platforms out there, and it's almost hard to figure out how they managed to crash one. But the thing just stays in the air. But anyway,
well, I imagine. They've already found the wreckage. No survivors, of course, and they're sort of hemming and hawing about pilot error in this case.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you get 4 turboprops with and you have those props that twist it to the pitch? They can change the pitch on the props, and
yes,
I mean those are just an amazing lifting and cruising aircraft. How do you get 4 engines to go? It had to be, like you said, probably pilot error or something like that.
Yes, somebody augured in.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, that's all I had, Mike. Just in a way, maybe some of this ineptitude going on with the militaries of the world maybe it'll give them pause and make them think that maybe they don't want to fight so much if they know that their equipment isn't what it should be. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, God have mercy on us all. And like you say, World War III is a very bad idea.
It is a very, very bad idea. All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. That was Glenn in Philadelphia. All right, turning to the international news here. And apparently Hayat Tahrir al-Sham's Abu Bakr al-Sadiq army in Syria and their special forces unit known as the Red Bands attacked and captured the area of al-Katabat al-Mujaru in southeastern Idlib. Units of the Syrian army deployed there were caught off guard and were forced to withdraw after some hours of clashes. So that is a major, major setback. All righty. Now then, here's an interesting indicator as to the mindset of the Syrians. Apparently, the Syrian Arab Army recently blocked a U.S. military convoy from passing their posts at the Qamishli airport in northern al-Hasaka. And somebody got a video of this, of the Syrian army telling the U.S. convoy to turn around, despite the possibility of a confrontation. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com. The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And over at the House Judiciary Committee, they're still going at it, making the same arguments over and over and over and over, and trying to say, we're not doing this for political gain. In fact, Pelosi actually came out earlier and said there actually is no deep state. There's no political bias here. We're doing this, to protect the Constitution and the separation of powers. and it is a big pile of USDA choice bovine excrement, but apparently they're perfectly happy thrashing around in it. And who knows when they're going to get to a vote. In fact, at this point, it being coming up on 5 p.m. Eastern time, I would not be surprised if they put the vote off another day. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day to you, Michael. Aloha. Everything you say is right on target, Michael. Listen, this Pigs Pelosi, I'm telling you, like Michael, I told you show many times, they're doing this because of immigration. They're going after Trump because he's going to stop these illegals from coming in here by the multiple millions. By the way, Michael, Fox News today and yesterday were talking about in the country of Mexico on December 31st of this year, in a 10-year period, there'll be over 264,000 murders in Mexico alone, Michael, in a 10-year period in Mexico. Pelosi, I'm going to repeat that, 264,000. Vietnam had 58,000, okay? In a 15-year period, 20-year, whatever, the Vietnam, I forgot how long it lasted, actually. I can't remember right offhand. But getting back to, then that's only in Mexico. They're not talking about Central America, Honduras, Ecuador, all these other countries that have multiple hundreds of thousands of murders. Now, what Pelosi's doing, Michael, and I'm going to get back to the Jew coup. The Jew coup that's happening to this country against Trump is this. They're doing this because of immigration. The Zionists, the Sephardic Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, and all these different sects of Jews, okay, they all have different vying for power. You got the Talmudic Jews, you got the Orthodox Jews, you got all these different Jewish sects in Israel, okay, and you are absolutely right. Trump went and signed a bill. What do you know, Talib Nasheed, the Arab, was just now on the news saying how white man is to blame for all the ills of this country. When is Trump going to have a law in that White House that protects white Christian males? We have an Arab woman who's in Congress of our country, was founded by Christian white males, telling us that the white man's the bad guy here. No, lady, you go back to your Arabic country and you start preaching that in your Arab country. You don't come in here and start accusing white males of being the problem. We're the solution to your stupid problems. Now, as far as going to a Pigs Pelosi, she's got 8 million illegals in her state of California. That's the real quid pro quo, and that's the real collusion, and that's the ones that should be arrested. Trump right now, what they're trying to do him, she's reverse the tables, and you're going to all be arrested for allowing sanctuary cities in this country, breaking all these articles, like you say, Article 8 of the Constitution. Pelosi, the shift, this Swalwell who's swallowing, I don't know what that guy's swallowing. He looks like a fairy to me. This is unbelievable.
Tom, I got to put you on hold. Tom, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for station identification. Do not hang up. I'll come back to you right after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family. because you can handle the truth.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2 here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And before we get back to Tom in Florida, again, I'm watching the House Judiciary Committee debating the articles of impeachment. And it really, the Reader's Digest version of it is, the Democrats saying, the president is guilty. And the Republicans are saying, of what? And the Democrats just keep coming back and saying, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty. That's all you need to know. Don't think, don't demand to see evidence, just feel the evil coming out of that man and that Oval Office, and stand with us, to bring integrity and discipline back to the executive branch. Boy, that'll be the day. All right, we're talking with Tom in Florida. We're talking about impeachment. And it has been a circus. And I think on the whole, it is causing a lot of American people to take a good look at how our government currently operates and realize that it's really not at all like we were taught it was in school.
That's right. Yeah, Michael. Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah, Michael. First off, I don't know if you had a chance to see the news today. There's 5 women now that are running for Congress that are conservative women. They're going to have they're going to be the Right Squad. They're going to be called the Right Squad, Squid, whatever they call them, the Squad. And their motto is we're not going to tolerate socialism and communism. We're not going to allow our country to fall. And all these women, I guess, are running for office in the 2020 election. They're called the Right Wing Squad. Okay. Well, and getting back to another thing, Michael, I want to let your listeners in on. In the Miami Herald here, in the Broward Sun-Sentinel here in South Florida, they were talking about Jeffrey Epstein's plane, the Lolita Express. There were beds on the jet. The young girls, the Candy Striper girls, were having sex on the jet. Bill Clinton flew on that jet 26 times. The detective in Miami is the one that busted the case. He's got the book. The FBI has the book. The FBI is I call it the alphabet soup. The alphabet, these alphabet committees. That's what the FBI and the CIA stands for. The alphabets. They're not even actually patriots anymore. They're as far as starting to look here. I mean, I'm sure there's some wonderful, great Americans in these organizations, but now it's like all alphabets screwed up a puzzle. You don't know who's who anymore. Now, getting back to Michael, what I said in your last hour. Okay, you have 85% of the Zionists in this country still will vote Democrat, no matter what Trump does for them. Maybe he'll get 20% this election in 2020, but still 80% of these Jews, whatever you want to call them, they're going to vote Democrat, no matter what.
Yes.
And Trump has done more for them than any president in our history. Okay. Now, like I said, you have a faction of the Ashkenazi against the Sephardites. I've talked to Jews who have told me everything about that. I don't want to go on air talking about that. I know many Jews who've told me everything. And by the way, Michael, they can never attack any of us because all you got to say is you're a Jew for Jesus. Okay? When you're a Jew for Jesus, no Jew is going to be able to attack you. Because when you tell them you're a Jew for Jesus, who are you going after? Who are you going after? Talmudic? Who are you going after? You can't go after anybody. Because, this nonsense about Trump doing this and that, what is Trump supposed to do? What did Obama do with Fast and Furious? Barry Soetoro, Hussein Obama, whose father was a communist, Frank Marshall Davis, who's in a picture with Louis Farrakhan. With Louis Farrakhan, Obama's in a picture hugging him. With Al Green, it looks like Magoo. You have that Maxine Mad Max nutcase Waters. And you had this other guy, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, says the chickens are going to come home the roost. What is going on here, Michael? No, this cabal that's going after Trump with the Dark Angels of Hollywood, these freak shows, they're all going to HE double toothpicks is where they're going. Every one of them. And starting with that Pigs Pelosi, who's allowed a state, was the richest state in the United States for over 100 years to go into destitution and corruption and decadence. You have, 152,000 homeless in California I saw today? You have 152,000 homeless in the state of California, Michael. But the illegal aliens are coming there getting free college and education, and they're getting Section 8 housing. Who's paying for that?
Well,
in the meantime, you got Americans on the street. Of course we are. And, it's got to come to a halt. And these people need to be in handcuffs, arrested behind the Gray Bar Hotel, and have severe sentences. Pelosi, that Schiff, and Schiff, Michael Schiff went to this guy, Ed Beck's house 16 times. Why would Schiff go to that house 16 times when this guy supposedly indicted and he killed 2 Afro-Americans on drug overdoses? And this guy's given multiple hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to the Democratic Party. Where's the investigation on that, FBI? Where's all this other nonsensical nincompoop stuff that's going on in this country that's not being investigated, but you're going to go after Trump or Ukraine? When Biden's telling him he's not going to give him $1 billion and his son's stealing millions of dollars out of there, a drug addict who got booted out of the United States Navy because he couldn't maintain himself, and you're going to go after the President of the United States? And let me ask you, I'm not trying to pick on anybody here, but Dustin, you live in a state that's got highest taxes in the United States next to California. Who would want to live in a state where your vote doesn't even count whenever you vote for anything because it's all Democrat? And you got this guy, Blumenthal, who's a filthy liar, said he went to Vietnam. It was proven that he was a filthy liar. And this guy's still a United States senator. And this guy's standing on the Senate talking about Donald Trump, about him being a liar and him being a colluder. What did you do, Blumenthal? You filthy lying animal who lives in a state that's supposedly 98% white, and he's a Jew? How are these Jews getting all these seats in the Senate and the Supreme Court if they're not only 2% of the population, but you got 98% of the rest of the people are Christian white Anglos? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't add up. They can't find no white Christians that have electability or something? What's going on here? Or are they that stupid they don't see the big system here?
The system has been corrupted and hijacked, and short of biding our time and waiting for the system to collapse in on itself, which is what I think is going to happen, there really isn't much that we can do. But if you look at the history of Jewish interaction with other cultures over the last 2,000 years, you'll see that this is a repeating pattern, that they never assimilate with the host population of where they're moving into. They basically predate on them economically. They move quickly to seize the centers of power. And, once they get in, of course, they consolidate that power. And, we're being conditioned to just be so careful that we're not discriminating against anybody around us. And we don't realize that, as you point out, we're being discriminated against just for being white guys.
That's right, Michael. And Michael, the Jews, when they call you a goyim, you know what a goyim is, Michael? You know what the word goyim stands for?
Cattle.
You're a cattle. That's how they want to round you up and put you like a steer in a corral, and you're a goyim. That's exactly what's going on here with this nonsense with these Zog agents that they got. And Michael, what's really happening too? Like, look at Weinstein. He's going to end up paying $50 million to get out of the sexual charges he's got against all these women. They had that on the news today. He's already got one woman. He's paying her $25 million, and he's got other women he's going to have to pay another $25. But this guy,
that's not coming out of his own pocket. He's walking away clean. He doesn't have to admit wrongdoing, and he doesn't have to pay the settlements themselves. That's coming out of the insurance for the various studios he was connected with, including his own Weinstein Productions. So the insurers are going to eat that.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct what you're saying. Absolutely. Michael, I'm not going to give it away, but do me a favor. For you guys a time one day, could you go see that movie, Ford versus Ferrari? I think you'd enjoy it. I would really like you to go see that movie because there's a 20-second part in that movie. I'm not going to give it away. I want you to go see it. I think you'll talk about it on the air once you see the movie. I'm pretty sure you will.
Well,
I can give you a hint. It has to do with Detroit, Michigan. That's all I can tell you. It has to do with the once great city of Detroit. That's all I can tell you.
Yes.
The once great city of Detroit. And that's going to tell you where the Democrats are, Michael. They've ruined cities like Detroit, Chicago, Michael. They crushed these cities, Baltimore, with the crime and the filth and the decadence. It's just absurd what these Democrats are getting away with. And now they're going after the president, a duly elected president of the United States, who next election is probably going to end up with 75 million voters. I'm telling you, a lot of Afro-Americans are going to vote for Trump. You watch. I bet he gets 25 to 35% of the Afro-American vote. Remember I told you that. I'm predicting that now. But they're doing everything to stop Trump, Michael, because they know that he's going to get elected again, and it's all about the Supreme Court, and it's about immigration. That Ginsburg's going to be 87 years old in 2 months. Ginsburg.
Yes.
And then you got, not only Ginsburg, Michael, you got Ginsburg, but then you got all these millions of more illegals these Democrats need for voters, because once the blacks wake up to the fact that they've been used and played, then it's going to be over to the Demon Rat Party. This is why they're going after Trump. It's about this immigration to keep flowing in here like a sieve. That's exactly why. And the American people have better wake up, because we are looking at what you're always saying, Michael, we don't want. We don't want it, but you know what? It's going to come to that if this is not stopped by what's going on with the Dark Angels of the left, because they're all going to HE double two picks. I can tell you, they're going to HE double. Michael, one more thing in the Bible.
Just one more thing, 11, because we got other callers waiting in line. Just one more thing.
Okay, Michael. Romans 7, 8, and 9. It's right there in chapter 11. Chapter 11, 7, 8, 9. All your listeners got to go is take that book, the New Testament. Open up Romans, go to chapter 11, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we'll get the whole answer of what's going on in this country right now with this impeachment. It's right there in that book. It's right in that Holy Bible. God bless you, Michael. Have a great day. Thank you for taking my call.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Tom. We're going to let you go and switch over to Chance in West Virginia. Chance, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike. This Trump excessive cheerleading is really getting old. Do I think he should be impeached? Absolutely not. I'm an independent, though. But let's look at some facts here. Okay? Trump flip-flopped twice on DACA and birthright citizenship.
Yes.
Okay? In a 12-month period last year, 1.1 million came into this country in a 12-month period. Okay, there's another fact. All right, now, as we speak, there's an amnesty bill for 1.5 million illegals on the Senate floor right now. Now, let's just see what Trump does about this if he puts his signature to it. I mean, I don't understand why people don't look at these things and take them into consideration. I mean, something has got to be done. Not enough is being done. Now, this amnesty bill, keep your eye on this right now. And this is on the Senate floor. I bet you he signs it. And 1.5 million of it, which means it's probably 3 or 4 million. What do you think, Michael?
It's, there's very little Trump could do these days that would surprise me. I mean, he's just kind of all over the place politically, and his administration is descending into chaos. But again, none of this is grounds for impeachment.
No, it's not. Of course not. No high crimes or misdemeanors have been committed. Of course, this is all nonsense. But let's face facts about immigration. I mean, this is what happened. Like I said, he flip-flopped twice on DACA and birthright citizenship.
Yes.
1.1 million came in last year in a 12-month period. Now I bet you he signs this amnesty bill. So, I mean, what's with all the damn cheerleading here? I just can't understand this.
Tom gets really kind of excited about, I mean, we do have people who are still, they're waiting for the real Trump to blossom into view, the Trump that we voted for back in 2016. And at this point, I'm not waiting any longer. I don't think that Trump is ever...
Michael, we've waited 3 years. 3 long years. How much longer are we going to wait before we start putting people's feet to the fire? The hell with all this rah-rah cheerleading crap. Now let's have some results here, tangible results, don't you think?
Yes, I agree. Trump is turning into a do-nothing president. He's done a few token things for the economy, which is not anywhere near as good as the PR claims it is. You're right about him waffling back and forth on various issues like immigration. And on those issues that he campaigned on, which was draining the swamp, getting rid of the deep state, getting us out of all these wars of intervention around the globe, it's been an utter failure. We're still stuck in those wars.
And on my last note, Michael, I voted for him. I had faith in him. I feel let down. I can't understand the cheerleading when I see all these statistics and numbers. I feel let down. I don't know, Michael. It's just a mess. Okay, Michael, thank you for taking my call now. God bless you, and enjoy the rest of your show.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. I think the people who are still out there unabashedly pro-Trump are just those who don't want to admit that maybe they got snookered along with the rest of us. And of course, in 2016, I wasn't so much working for Trump as I was working against Hillary. And it's looking like I'm going to have to do exactly the same thing again next year. All right, let's go to Mo in Florida. Aloha, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Michael. I don't know how much time you got for the break, but if you can hold me over, I appreciate it.
All right, got about 4 minutes.
Okay, listen, I'm just a perfect segue for me because I'm one of the fools who voted for Trump. My wife and I got the T-shirts, and I just feel betrayed like everybody else. I think we're just, I look back at when he was buddies with Hillary, and this is just one big, good cop, bad cop thing to me. I mean, do you remember I think one of the things that got him elected were people that, realized the crimes that the Clintons committed.
Yes.
From Vince Foster to the boys on the track, to the whole thing.
Yes.
And he said, if I was POTUS, you'd be in jail. Well, they're actually talking about her being the front runner. Are you kidding me?
Well, according to the Harris poll, as interpreted by the Harvard School of American Politics, and again, these public polls are not really reliable measures of what people are thinking. Harris was one of the pollsters who back in 2016 said, Hillary's got a lock on it. She is so far ahead of Donald Trump, there is no way she can lose. Well, guess what? She lost. She's been bitter about it ever since.
Though, the point is she's not in jail. She hasn't even been indicted. Nothing's been done. This is ridiculous. I mean, to me, it's just to go along with this, Mike. And this is a frustrating thing because I'm probably just as guilty as everybody else. But every one of your viewers or listeners that call in, if they were offered just in the scheme of things, $10 million is nothing. I mean, these people deal in billions and trillions.
Yeah.
If they were offered $10 million and they had information, deep, dark information on whether it's the Illuminati, the Mormons, the Catholics, the Jews, the Islam, whatever, cold facts, tapes, videos, and they were offered $10 million to shut up about it, would they take the $10 million or would they expose these criminals? And if you can answer that question and say, like you probably or Ron Paul, and you can say, no, I would discard the $10 million, even though it couldn't be traced to you. The secret bank account, you'd never be arrested, you'd never be known. And that's what this is about. It's about money and power.
Yes.
And the power corrupts, and we know the rest of the story. And this is what this is about, money and power. And Trump is the epitome of somebody that's on an ego power trip along with Hillary and the rest of them. And it's just all it is. You know, you got the Ron Pauls in there that ran for president, and that's the reason why he's not president.
Okay, Mo, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. The phone lines are loaded up. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right. Construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check. But there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Still watching the circus over there in the Judiciary Committee. Apparently, there was another attempt to tack an amendment on to the articles of impeachment. This one failed 23-17. So this thing just continues to drag on. We will keep an eye on it because, remember, it's your tax dollars at work. And those people in Congress are there to represent you. Thought it was the big corporations and everything. Well, you're absolutely right about that. Let's go back to the phones here. Miles in Maine. Aloha, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. I just wanted to say another excellent call by Tom. And, Chance, we're all disappointed. But can you tell me any Republican that was better than Trump or would be better than Trump that's electable? Can you? The answer is no. Don't even bother telling me. The answer is no. So when we voted for Trump, we knew what we were going to get. We were getting a guy who was an unseasoned politician. And we knew that we were getting somebody who's from business, who tries to make everybody happy. And we're watching that play out. But, I'm tired of hearing these people whine. He's not Thomas Jefferson, and he's not George Washington, and he's not Andrew Jackson. No, he's Trump. But do you want the alternative? Think about that one.
No, I certainly did not want the alternative. And, I still think that if the Senate just rolls over and kicks Trump out of office, Hillary's going to step in, because the same thing applies to the Democrats. They don't really have a strong front runner. I mean, Joe Biden is currently in the lead by 1 percentage point in the polls, and then the rest of the Democrat contenders are strung out behind him. And I'd like to see Tulsi Gabbard get a boost, but there is no clear and obvious front runner on the Democrat side.
Why would we want Tulsi Gabbard to get a foot up? I mean, I like the fact that she's exposing things, but she's an anti-gunner. She's part of not the Trilateral Commission, but I'm trying to think of the other organization that supports her. She's for open borders. She's anti-gun. She's flip-flopping around on that now, trying to come around after she saw what happened to Beto. No, I'm not for any of that. None of that. I mean, I like what she's done. I like the way she put Harris in her place, but she's certainly not the answer. Trump's as good as we got it going. And the one thing I want to say about this whole experience here is we got a chance now to look. We had nobody. The top guy everybody was saying is Pence. He's been such a ridiculous, nonsensical step and fetch for Israel since he ever got into politics that it's ridiculous. But we got a chance now to see some guy like Nunes, see some guys particularly like Jim Jordan. What a stand-up guy. Man, I'd be proud to throw a vote his way. What about you? And guys like Collins. And we're looking at some guys now with some fiber for once because of this situation. No, Trump isn't everything we wanted. And you knew he wasn't going to be. And if you thought he was, you were in a Disneyland fantasy. But did you want Jeb Bush? And that's what we got to look at when I listen to guys like Chance and I listen to this last caller. Of course we're not all excited about it, but it's the best what we had, and maybe it gives us a bridge to a guy like Jim Jordan. Secondly, what I wanted to talk about, Michael, is, all this time, money, all this stuff, this intentional lying by Schiff and all these guys. What is the chance we could get somebody to bring a lawsuit? I mean, somebody, meaning for the public, for the people, and recuperate this taxpayer money that's been wasted, and take maybe sue the Democratic Party or sue these people as individuals and take it to a court and get a verdict in our favor and get that money back, that the taxpayers are wasting with this nonsense, and maybe send a message that this is what's going to happen if you come up and make fallacious stories and you take up TV time in people's lives and you put on a soap opera that isn't true, and you continue it on, and you come up with fake dossiers and CIA and FBI lying and all this other stuff, and you get sued and you pay a big, huge penalty. Maybe that serves as a punishment that sends a message. I mean, is there any chance of somebody, anybody? I mean, if Trump pay?
Well, you just picked my number one favorite to do something about it, and it's called Judicial Watch. And I mean, they've got lawsuits all over the place. They're trying to do the job the Department of Justice is supposed to be doing, but refuses to do. And they're being obstructed too. We got a little information about them a bit further in the show. But the American people have already sent a message to the Democrats. The poll numbers are shifting against impeachment. The poll numbers are shifting against those Democrats who are supporting impeachment. The viewership numbers for these hearings, I mean, we're talking about a nationwide news corporation with only 997 viewers. And I think that sends a very powerful message that the American people just aren't buying this anymore. And that they're ready for this to be completely over. Anyway,
one last comment, Michael. one last comment. If I was Trump and I got
Well,
this
Miles,
second
you're going to
term,
have
the
to
last
sit on
thing I
hold.
do.
Miles, on hold. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're finishing up here with Miles in Maine. So, Miles, you had one more point you wanted to make.
Yes, thank you, Michael. My final point here is if I was Trump and to get this second re-election in, the first thing I would do is I would appoint every conservative, constitutionalist, third-party candidate that I could to get these people in a position to say, I've been there, I've been in the administration, I know how to run things, and get them elected to our next Congress, Senate, President, whatever we need. And that's what I would like to see Trump do. Michael, thank you so much, and I'll take your comments and leave the phone lines open for you.
Well, unfortunately, and Trump was a good illustration of this, those appointments are very often the returns for political favors. And we know that in the case of Donald Trump, he got a lot of money from Sheldon Adelson. And because of all that money, Sheldon has a great deal of influence over him. And it was Sheldon Adelson's idea to bring on people like John Bolton and, sort of reconstitute the neocon movement. So it would be nice if Trump could just, and in theory, he's got the authority to fire and hire anybody he wants. The political realities are just a little bit different. That's why I can joke about Trump making me director of NASA. It's never going to happen.
But here's the thing. He doesn't need anyone's money after his second term.
If he wins his second term, that's going to be correct. He's going to be a loose cannon on deck. He's not going to owe anybody anything. And I know a lot of the hardcore Trumpers are sort of grasping that as their last vestige of hope that the Trump that we saw campaigning in 2016 will emerge from his cocoon in 2021. And that we'll see some changes get made to the U.S. I'm not hopeful at this point. I really am not. Anyway, Miles, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much. And we're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Aloha, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say, don't hold your breath, anybody.
Yes.
We all said this before. Now, the thing has been done. Don't hold your breath. He's Make America First. He's nothing except make Israel first. And let me just, if he wants to defeat the impeachment attempt from the one set of Jews who want to impeach him to the other set of Jews who want to keep him in return for giving away everything, I just want to say, if he really wants to get out of this, he could declare himself Jewish and make it illegal for anybody to criticize him. He could call everybody in Congress anti-Semitic, and then thus he could get away with it, because then he would be a protected class, because that's just what he signed into.
That's only going to work so far. And again, if you go back and you look at the history of the last 2,000 years and you see all the expulsions and the pogroms and various other actions taken against Jewish people, and you find out it's a repeating cycle. And it always comes down to how the Jews treat those around them. As the other caller said, goyim, they're cattle to be used and harvested. And I'm detecting in the phone calls that we get, and certainly in a lot of the email that I get, there is a growing tide of anger in this country. And it's like people are almost expecting Donald Trump to sign a quitclaim deed, turning over ownership of the entire country to Israel, which is effectively what he's already done with this executive order.
Let me just develop. We already know that in 26 states it's illegal to criticize them. In South Carolina, you're criminally liable. That if you do criticize Israel, you're not subject to having any federal or state or local job. You can't even bid on a janitorial contract for the city of LA on some building, because if they've denounced you as somebody who's participated in BDS, then you're ineligible. You can't make a living that way. So, what are they going to be able to do now with this new thing? Now they're a nationality. By the way, does that mean they're not Americans? Because I got news for you. They're not Americans. But does that mean they're not Americans since they're now a different nationality? By the way,
that's
also,
a very, very good question. In fact, there's a lot of experts in Israel-Palestine relationships saying this is actually, in the long run, going to turn out to have been a very, very bad thing for Trump to do. Because it is going to foster this growing sense of anger, that there's going to be this backlash where people just refuse to be silenced anymore because it is so un-American.
Well, how about this? How about, there's a business guy. Let's go 2 years down the line here. Trump's still president. The idiot gets reelected. And so let's say there's some businessman competing against a Jewish businessman competing against a non-Jewish businessman. for some government contract or something, or even a non-government contract, and he denounces the other guy, like you can be denounced by anybody at your work as a gun owner and you lose your gun rights. This guy, let's say the Jewish guy denounces the other guy, he loses the contract, he loses the promotion, whatever. How about a mixed marriage where there's a Jewish spouse and a non-Jewish spouse, and they're fighting over the kids, and the non-Jewish spouse is accused of anti-Semitism by the Jewish spouse and loses custody of their kids? Let's just, how about that one? How about, going to Harvard, by the way, how Asians have been discriminated and whites as well, partly because Jews have taken up the white quota at Harvard. And so now that they're a different nationality, do they get that quota still? What is going on here? This guy is
it's a real can of worms. But, saying that Judaism is a nationality is like saying that Muslim is a nationality, that Buddhism is a nationality. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. But, Trump has whipped out his pen and he's signed this executive order, and says, make it so. And we're warping off
the reason why he did that is because on the Republican side, there's Paul Singer, Bernard Marcus, and Edgar Bronfman, and Sheldon Adelson. These are just 5 of the biggest. It goes way deep. It goes down to 18 or 19 biggest on the Republican side. It goes to 18 or 19 down biggest. They on the Democratic side, too. We're talking Soros and Haim Saban, Bloomberg and Sanders. Of course, they won't be satisfied till they get the president himself, not just own the guy, but be Jewish. It's unbelievable. By the way, Barr's father was Jewish. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Bill William Barr. Yeah, he was father. I just looked it up today. And of course, Mnuchin and DeVos, the educational secretary. They're all.
Yes.
We are utterly controlled. And look what this guy's delivering on. It's not make America first. It's making a nationality within America first. And they're untouchable. And God forbid that somebody denounces any of us for anything specious or whatever, because we can lose everything. And all they have to do is make the accusation. So there we go.
Yeah, it's like the witch hysteria climate of the Middle Ages. And again, it's been disturbing to see the Congress ready to throw the First Amendment into the shredder to please Almighty Israel, but to see the president go along with that, and again,
and we're not
all
even
of these
allowed
people
to use our own pocketbooks. The money that we sweat to earn, we can't use that to express our political belief because we don't believe in slaughtering unarmed Palestinians and stealing their land. And if we don't buy their products, we can go to jail or not get a job. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's where we've come to. And, President Trump is basically in violation of his oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And he just wrote off the First Amendment, and declared that,
right.
we have these protected groups. And we've got so many protected groups now. We've got the feminists, and we've got the blacks, and we got the Hispanics, and we've got the gays, and we got the transgenders, and we got this and that, and, us ordinary white guys, we're not considered a protected group. We're being set up like the targets in a shooting gallery.
The Second Amendment is under enormous fire. And guess from who? The biggest one is Bloomberg. He's the biggest guy against that. But here's 1.7% of the population that controls all the media. They control the government, both the Republicans and the Congress. They control the presidency, the executive. They control the legislatures. They control state legislatures. They control the banks. They control finance. How many dollars, and yet the last thing they want to do with 1.7% of the population, last thing they want to do is have. Because they can beat us in the courts and they can beat us in the laws because they own all that. But they can't beat us in a fight. And you know what? That's why they want to disarm us so badly. God forbid they think they want us to be able to defend themselves from this tyranny that is descending on us. They can't beat us in a fight, and don't let them take your guns. So there you go.
All right. Well, Peter,
I'm pissed about it.
Yeah, well, I got that very, very clearly. Thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Doing
I
all
wanted
right.
to talk to you about this impeachment thing and Lindsey Graham. I understand Graham wants to just get this thing over with real quick and, declare him not guilty, that he's not being impeached, he's not being thrown out of office and get it over with. And I think Graham has a reason for doing this because this needs to go to trial. We need to find out the real truth. We need to find out the real truth about Ukraine. When this started, going right back to 2014. Problem is, Graham is probably involved in this because he was very close to McCain, and I believe he met with some of these Nazi militias there in Ukraine around the time when they overthrew the government. So there's not double standard. There's a conflict of interest right there. So that's why I think he wants to just squash it real quick because we have to expose the whole thing. Now look, I'm no fan of Donald Trump. You know that already, right?
Yes.
I think if they impeached him for what he just did, I don't quite understand an executive order. Maybe you could explain it to me, but it doesn't sound like it's very good. I think that an impeachable offense for saying that, just saying that the Golan Heights belongs to Israel when obviously it doesn't. There's a lot of things. He should be impeached maybe for bombing Syria. Definitely should be impeached for that. But so should have, I don't know how, probably every president since Reagan for, war crimes. So, this nonsense with Ukraine? No way. No way. Could you explain to me quickly what that executive order is about? I don't quite understand it,
Well, the executive order basically, it first of all adopts as U.S. policy the so-called internationally recognized definition of anti-Semitism, which includes criticism of Israel. But if you criticize Israel, it's only because you hate the Jews, because the government of Israel never does anything that they should justly be criticized for. Then it had that component in there where it declared that Judaism is not just a religion, it is now a nationality. Trump is out there saying, Mahi dictum est, Judaism is now a nationality, they're given protected status, and that means that colleges and universities that don't demonstrate how much they love Israel could lose all federal funding.
All right, Mike, let me just say something about this. This discussion, beyond belief. Okay, I support Tulsi for president. I don't think she'll be that bad on guns. I think she knows a lot of she's been in the Army a long time, knows soldiers from all over the country. I don't think she would make a move on a gun. So I have no problem putting her in. Now, I would think about Bernie, but this is what I want him to do. Okay, now, as well as I've told you already, I have Jewish ancestry, right? You know that, right?
Yes.
Told you that before. All right. I would want Bernie Sanders, I would vote for him if he took an oath to say that he has no loyalty whatsoever to Israel, that he's an American, and his nationality is American, with no oath to Israel or any other country, no loyalty to Israel or any other country but the United States of America. Then I could vote for him. Because I'm not, a lot of his policies I like. Okay? This really pisses me off. I mean, this is creating real anti-Semitism. I'm talking about Jew hatred. I'm not talking about anti-Zionism. Actual Jew hatred. That's what this is causing. These people are dangerous. Trump is a moron. That's the problem with the guy. The guy is just too stupid to be president in a lot of respects. The reason why Graham, what Graham is doing? Graham is very, very smart. He's not a stupid man, Graham. He is controlling Trump, and you know how he's doing it? He's doing bad cop, good cop type of thing. Well, if you withdraw our troops from Syria, we may just have to impeach you. We may have to go on with a conviction, get you out of office. But you be a good little boy and keep the troops there and keep the troops on the borders of Russia and keep the troops in Afghanistan, and we'll be nice. And then he'll try to butter Trump up. He knows Trump is a narcissist, and he knows he's also very he's subject to flatter. All you got to do is say nice things about the guy. Oh, yeah, he's a good man. He's a good guy, you know, like he's conducting businesses, some real estate business or some crap back in New York. And that's the way Trump works. And Graham got it down to a science. So he's controlling the guy. I trust Graham as far as I can throw him.
Yes.
Another thing, too, you know, as far as all these people are looking to get Trump out of there, so many. It's incredible how many are Jewish. I don't understand it. What are these people trying to do? They really, you know.
Basically exert control. I mean, it's wired into their faith. They can never feel totally safe until they're totally in control of whatever society they've moved in on. And again, this has been going on as a repeating cycle for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, but they're destroying themselves. Okay?
Yeah,
and then
they
people
do.
like me who love and don't think like that, you know, I'm not rich. I'm far from rich. I live in a manufactured home in the middle of the woods. You know, it's my own land, but it's a manufactured home. You know, and there's plenty, you know, and I'm very proud to be an American, even though a lot of things, but what they're doing now is just, like I said, they're causing anti-Semitism of the worst type. And this is what bothers me.
Mark, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We've got other callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go right back to the phones here to Kevin in West Virginia. And Kevin, thank you for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mr. Mike. I wanted to upset the apple cart for a moment, if I may.
Okay.
Everybody calling in and everybody's unhappy. Everybody, and I get that. I'm unhappy too. But everybody, listen, if you're unhappy, act. Do something. Run for public office. You have the ability yourselves to change this. Why is everybody waiting for somebody else to do it? Grab the bull by the horns and do it yourself. There's other people out there like me, that's trying to do something, trying to run for an office, trying to get noticed, trying to get out there to help the American people. But nobody, I've called for time and time again, the people, let's organize, let's go to DC, let's go to these people's faces. People are just too afraid to do it. And I don't understand why.
Well, some of us, we're out here doing independent radio. We're doing websites. We're trying to educate the public around us. I think a lot of people would be reluctant to taint themselves by getting into the actual political process. There have been a lot of people who've gone to Washington, D.C., and they're there for like maybe a year or so, and they leave because it's just so dirty there. They just don't want to be part of it any longer. And it's a shame because, the bad people stay because they're making money hand over fist. The good people get driven out here. And it's like the old saying where, bad money drives out good money. Well, bad politics drives out good politics. And probably there's a lot of Americans who would like to get involved, but one, they're not exactly sure how. And two, they're not exactly sure how they could, win with a constituency full of special interests.
And I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree with what, I'm running into that myself, trying to figure some things out. But come on, guys, that is our house. That is our House of Representatives. We put them in there. These people are not royalty. These people, they put your pants on the same way that you and I put their pants on. They're no better, no special, no different than us. Just because they have a seat doesn't mean that you can't get in there and get them to change things. If we would stand together and go to D.C., because the Congress, the Library of Congress, in the Senate building and all of that, nobody's there. Nobody's there whenever they're in session, so they just do whatever they want to do. We need to go there and take our house back. I'm saying that in a, lawfully, and respectfully. But these people, let's go there and get in their faces. The left causes a scene. Why can't we?
All right. Well, you make a very, very good point here. And Kevin, we're going to let you go while we do a station identification. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go to Stephen in Oregon. Aloha, Stephen. Thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind today?
Yes, this is by no reason my original thought, but we're coming up to the same period of time of year that the Federal Reserve was passed in the night of the Christmas Eve, or whenever it was exactly. But I propose that this came from Jim Stone, that Mitch McConnell's going to stick around there and they're going to try and do a little impeachment while everybody's away on vacation. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that and think about it and see if that's exactly what's going to go down.
Well, I'm anticipating that over the Christmas New Year holiday, that we're going to see a definite escalation in the military involvement over there in other parts of the world. And I think that other caller we had on here earlier is right. The Senate is gearing up to just say he's not guilty. We're not removing him from office. Remember how fast that went when Bill Clinton got impeached? You know, the House passed articles of impeachment, and literally within an hour, they'd gone to the Senate. The Senate had said, no, we're not removing him from office. And that was the end of the story. And I think that's that caller who suggested that scenario is about to happen again. I think they've got the right track on that. So I think the distraction of us all for Christmas and New Year's is going to be used to mask something else of a more military nature.
Sounds good. I do know of one person that is trying to take the rein by the hands. They're not going to Washington, D.C. to shut it down, but you can go to either Paul Stramer's site or Anna Von Wright's site, and she's trying to do it through rural assemblies. And getting everybody to basically renounce their citizenships and become American state nationals.
Okay.
Because our basically, she says, our original government has been mothballed and been sitting there. We got a corporate government now. It's not of the people. It's for the corporation. And I want to mention one more thing, and that is I found a very interesting document for everybody to go search on Yippee. And that is, you search Notice of Copyright William Jefferson Clinton.
Yes.
You'll get the document and check it out.
Okay. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for that information. And we're going to Okay, yes, I had the mute button on. Thank you for the phone call, Stephen. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And I got to keep a tighter eye on this mute button here. So this next story, this happened at the beginning of the year. It's being reported in Checkpoint Asia. Apparently, in February of this year, the U.S. put pressure on German Chancellor Angela Merkel to conduct a naval maneuver in Russia's backyard aimed at provoking Putin, according to 3 people familiar with the talks. At a February 16th meeting at the Munich Security Conference, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence urged Merkel to send German warships through that narrow channel between the Crimean Peninsula and mainland Russia to show that that Western powers won't surrender their access to those waters. So, anyway, okay, it's now after 5 p.m. East Coast time, and actually it's after 5 p.m. Central time. We're starting to get numbers out of the British elections, and it's been contentious to say the least. Apparently, Jeremy Corbyn faced a Russiagate smear campaign before today's election. Corbyn was out there saying that the lines to vote were the longest he'd ever seen. And there are already stories about voters being turned away and not allowed to vote because of irregularities, like their name in the file shows they're postal voters. So no doubt there's going to be a contention. But as of right now, the Conservative Party is having one heck of a night. I have all kinds of parties, I'm sure. And let's see. Boris Johnson is storming home. The current prediction is the Tories are winning an historic Brexit election with a majority of 86. Labour's going to have its worst result for decades for having pushed the Remain campaign. So it looks like, we'll follow up tomorrow morning and make sure the numbers haven't changed too much because of all those ballots found, in the back room in the middle of the night. But yeah, a lead of 86 in Parliament is significant. Boris Johnson is going to continue as Prime Minister. And I love the way he crosses the street from number 10 with his hair all askew and this scowl on his face. And I think he's trying to channel Winston Churchill. He's doing really, really well tonight. All right, so getting on back to Donald Trump. Trump has literally lashed out at U.S. Jews for not loving Israel enough. And once again, Trump has proven that you can stand in a room full of Jewish supporters and spew out what would be considered anti-Semitic tropes with complete immunity as long as you give unconditional support to the state of Israel. Now, early this year, Trump actually embraced the title King of Israel, and he's now accused American Jews of not loving Israel enough. First of all, government should not be mandating your emotions, and it's really kind of impractical to begin with. So Trump has signed the executive order to punish critics of Israel. Oddly enough, Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer was standing right by his side when he signed this executive order, which makes me kind of wonder if maybe Epstein did catch Trump in a compromising situation, and Epstein's lawyer was there to remind him to make sure this executive order got signed. I mean, this executive order trampling on free speech rights, it's an attack on the First Amendment. It's an attempt to raise the Israeli government above our own, because we're still allowed to criticize the U.S. government, and they've done lots to be criticized for. But all of a sudden, no, you can't criticize Israel. They're above the U.S. government. I know it's not in the Constitution, And I think the current situation is why President Washington warned us against foreign entanglements and a passionate attachment of one nation for another, because it would lead to bad decision making. It certainly has in this particular case. So YouTube has jumped on the bandwagon. They're banning malicious insults against public officials who are members of a protected class. And you can be forgiven for saying, well, who's a protected class? Well, I'll make it easier for you. Okay, us white heterosexual guys, we're the only class that isn't protected. It's open season on us. We're like those little figures at the end of the shooting gallery walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And everybody else is just lined up, you know, to shoot at us, saying, ooh, evil white people, evil white people. We're not evil. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept the concepts of collective inherited guilt. And racism is wrong no matter what direction it is going in. Now, here's a bizarre article. This came out of the Daily Mail. And they've interviewed Jeffrey Epstein's prison suicide counselor to basically reveal he was so terrified he wanted to pay a black inmate for protection and was overheard ripping up sheets the night he hanged himself. Well, there's a little bit of a logical flaw in there. If he was so scared he wanted to pay a black inmate for protection, then this is not a guy who's thinking about killing himself. And by the way, those sheets that he was allowed to have, they're basically paper. They will not hold the weight of a body. It's done deliberately. Now, as an earlier caller mentioned, you know, if Judaism is now a nationality, have Jews stopped being American? And Zionists may imagine that this new bill declaring Judaism to be a nationality is to their advantage. For anti-Zionists, it's an example of what was foreseen and then experienced by Jews around the world as the political Zionist movement took root. From Edwin Montague to Rabbi Elmer Berger to American Jewish Committee Presidents Joseph Proskauer and Jacob Blaustein, the conflation of the ethnic and faith identity of Judaism, which is already a difficult combination, to a nationality, is seen as long-acting poison. Now, Montague wrote to his fellow British cabinet members in 1917 when they were considering the Balfour Declaration that, quote, Zionism has always seemed to me to be a mischievous political creed. So, all right, if Judaism is a nationality, I guess by implication, so is Christianity. So are Buddhists, Muslims, and what countries are we coming from that makes us a nationality? See, Trump signed this without really thinking it all the way through, and he's getting bad advice from his advisors. They just want what Israel wants, just don't read the fine print. Just sign already, sign it. Okay, over at the New York Slimes, Tom Friedman found it very easy to condemn Iran for shooting protesters, but then turns around to defend Israel for doing exactly the same. At the Great March of Return. Now, the United Nations found last March that Israel killed 183 civilians who posed no threat to Israel and wounded another 6,000. Amnesty International said Israel was pursuing a deliberate policy of maiming civilians, causing untold physical and psychological damage, and called for a worldwide arms embargo. The casualties have included journalists and paramedics. Well, Thomas Friedman doesn't seem to have a problem with that, but by golly, he's over there saying, yes, we need to condemn Iran for shooting those protesters. Little bit of a double standard. Little bit of a double standard. Speaking of double standard, backing a two-state solution, Democrats deplore equal rights, deny the Nakba, and say Jews must never be a minority in Israel. And this one fell flat on its face because Republicans voted overwhelmingly last Friday against House Resolution 326, which backed the two-state solution and rejects Israeli annexation of the West Bank. So they've greenlit Israel to just go ahead and steal more land, which Israel will gladly do, screaming, God wills it, God wills it, this is our land. You know, from the Nile to the Euphrates, God gave us all this land. And who are you to go against the word of God? All righty, now Israel has a long legal battle against Human Rights Watch. And in November of this year, they revoked the work visa and deported Human Rights Watch director Omar Shakir. Now, according to Human Rights Watch, Israel argued that the state revoked the work visa of Shakir, a U.S. citizen, on the assertion that his advocacy violated a 2017 law that bars entry to people who advocate a boycott of Israel or its settlements in the occupied West Bank. And what Israel is doing with this lawsuit and the way they're framing it, they're trying to normalize the ongoing theft of West Bank land. They want to just get people used to the idea where they say, well, this is just Israel being Israel. And, you know, the West Bank sort of, kind of, maybe ought to belong to them anyway, especially if you read the Old Testament. And again, very disruptive. And you've got this mutual defense pact between Israel and the United States. Bad idea, because Israel's going to keep pushing on their neighbors until one of them pushes back. And then we'll have a regional war, which will quickly turn into a world war. Now, a Palestinian art exhibition was literally stolen last week during the 18th session of the Assembly of the States Parties of the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Now, the exhibition featured Memo's Palestinian cartoonist Mohammed Sabana's artwork as part of an initiative on the impact of the criminal policies and practices of the Israeli occupation of the victims in Palestine. So, according to the International Middle East Media Center, Sabane's graphic political masterpieces were removed without authorization from the hallways of the World Forum, sparking widespread condemnation. Now, apparently the artwork was found shoved in a closet in the same building, so they got it back, probably suffered a little damage. But I read this story and it reminded me of this tragedy where Palestine historically has been famous for a lot of different things, one of which is embroidery. And they just do this amazing embroidery. And so they arranged for a world exhibition tour of Palestinian embroidered clothing to basically be shown in museums around the world. And it got as far as the Los Angeles International Airport, and they were unloading this plane that had supposedly brought this exhibit down from, I think it was on Alaska Airways, and it just wasn't there. Now, this was a secure, bonded customs warehouse, and still somebody had the juice to just walk on in there and walk on out with all these cases of this beautiful, beautiful embroidery, which vanished and was never seen again. I imagine somebody had a bonfire out there. And the reasoning is simple. Israel doesn't want you to think of the Palestinians as having a culture of their own. And I mean, think about one of the biggest lies that we have been given over the years, that Palestine was a land without a people for a people without a land, meaning the Jews. And that's ridiculous. The people who are the Palestinians have been there for at least 1,000 years. But Israel needs to erase them. And by the way, did you ever get the feeling that's starting to happen here? Our history is being erased. Our cultural icons are being erased. Our holidays are being erased. We're being just sort of blended into this one sort of neutral population. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials here, and we'll be right back after these few words.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And still keeping an eye on the British elections. And for some reason, hang on. We lost our Fox News feed. Too many screens to look at around here. They're not yet releasing official results for the British elections, but based on the exit polls, it looks like Boris Johnson has a commanding majority, and the Tories have had their worst election night going back to Labour Party going back to 1935. So anyway, let's try that. Okay, hang on a second. I'm just having difficulties with my my systems here. All right, getting on back to the news, and let's try. Okay, I got a signal here. And over at the House Judiciary Committee, they're still nattering and gromishing left and right. Okay, so over at the Mises Institute, Tho Bishop wrote an article saying the warfare state lied about Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. They will lie again. Yes, that's absolutely true. That's how government controls you. They lie to you. They trick you. They deceive you. They do false flags. It's the only way to get you to do what they want you to do. I mean, no ruler actually is honest enough to stand up and say, look, we want to invade this other country and change their government because we can make a fast buck off of them. If we're doing this, we can shut down this competing pipeline right away, and we can do all of the stuff that'll make our corporate backers very, very happy. And yes, some of your children are going to get killed, but that's a sacrifice I am willing to make. How much success do you think they're going to have? Oh, no. They need a Spanish mine blowing up the USS Maine, which, by the way, didn't happen. They need torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin, which, by the way, did not happen. They need the German U-boats to attack a completely innocent Lusitania on its way to England, which we later found out was, in fact, smuggling weapons to Great Britain. And it just goes on and on and on. We know that Roosevelt was goading the Japanese into the attack on Pearl Harbor for an entire year before it actually happened. And then, of course, there was the story of Saddam's nuclear weapons, which we all know didn't exist. And the story that Assad was gassing his own people, which didn't make any sense to begin with. And now we're getting whistleblowers from inside the OPCW saying it was all ginned up. It was a hoax. It was a fake. You know, because our job isn't to get the facts to you, the American people. Our job is to create an illusion for the American people. A real-world matrix, if you will, that you will look at and presume to be real so that we can get your money, your obedience, your children, move forward. All right, as that earlier caller mentioned, Russia's only aircraft carrier has erupted in flames, and the fire spread to a space of 600 square meters. I'm not sure I'm buying this idea that this was done so that Russia could get out of a bad deal, because I don't think Russia's military and political leadership acknowledges a bad deal any easier than the United States does. I mean, if you look at all the people still out there trying to defend the F-22, defend the F-35, defend the Gerald R. Ford, defend the Zumwalt, they're no longer defending the Independence and Freedom class littoral combat ships. Those things perform so poorly, they're being scrapped, and the Navy is saying, oh, goody, we get to start all over again and spend more money. But apparently the carrier was undergoing repairs and maintenance when the fuel tank caught fire. I think the reason Russia only has the one carrier is I think they're looking forward to a time when power projection with carriers is going to be antiquated and obsolete. Remember, going into World War II, the conventional thinking at the Navy was the war was going to be won with the battleships. And the aircraft carriers were nice to have and provide air cover and everything, but they weren't main players. And obviously World War II changed their mind. Well, we're going into World War III with that same attitude that the aircraft carriers are going to be the mainstays. And Russia is already clearly thinking, no, there's going to be a somewhat different way that these wars are going to be fought. All right, we got to take another break here for commercials. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. And Fox News just ran the exit polls for Great Britain. And clearly, Boris Johnson and the Tories have won a landmark victory. And they're already saying, well, this is it. Great Britain is going to leave the European Union probably next month. And the White House is apparently already approaching Great Britain about opening up their own separate trade deal. Remember, that was one of the big threats that the EU was out there saying, if you dare to leave us, nobody ever leaves the European Union. It's kind of like the Roach Motel. Countries check in, but they can't check out. and especially their money. But it looks like Britain is going to start making trade deals all over the globe. Now, the White House is also claiming that they've reached a tentative China pact, and this is pushing the stock market futures for tomorrow up. So we'll see how long that holds. All right. Story coming out of Russia today. The U.S. Senate is advancing a bill giving the State Department the right to call Russia a sponsor of terrorism. And the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has approved a bill asking the State Department to determine whether Russia falls under the criteria of a state sponsor of terrorism, potentially opening a way for stricter sanctions. Some of those people in the Senate ought to look in a mirror if you want to find out who the biggest sponsor of terrorism is in this world here. So, the pretentiously titled Stopping Malign Activities from Russia Terrorism, or SMART Act, could potentially bring the already strained relationship between Moscow and Washington to a new low. Well, that's what's going on here. Provoke, 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 poke, 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 poke. And when Russia pokes back, then the U.S. says, Mommy, look what Russia did. We must go to war. Over at NATO, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg was announcing that NATO must address the security implications of a rising China, and especially their rise as a military power, and in true Orwellian doublespeak insisted that he did not want to make an adversary out of China, but rather was interested in analyzing how best to respond to the challenges China poses in a balanced way by declaring that it is a security threat. So what's going on here? NATO was an alliance that was formed in the wake of World War II to basically deter the Soviet Union from projecting power into Europe. Well, the Soviet Union's gone, and NATO doesn't have a mission any longer. So they've gone from being a defensive force to an offensive one, and clearly they want to become this Atlantic Pacific alliance. That explains Jens Stoltenberg's comments about China. Because China you would normally consider as being sort of outside, if you will, the jurisdiction of NATO. But nobody stops the Pentagon while the military deployment project around China mentioned by Hillary Clinton in 2011 had officially been abandoned. NATO just had it endorsed by the London summit. All righty, we're going to take a phone call. Kelly in Austin, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm very happy to hear the results of the exit polling in Great Britain.
Me too.
I spent quite a bit of time in Europe, mostly Germany and France, over the years, and I can tell you that there are a lot of people in Europe really who aren't much in favor of the EU, but they've been stuck there. Now, if this election turns out the way it looks like it's going to turn out, and with Britain gone, that means there's little incentive for other parties to remain. And I fully expect that you're going to see Italy bolt very quickly out of that, and then possibly with Germany, because most of the burden of supporting the EU now is going to fall on Germany's shoulders.
Yes.
If that is, if they can get rid of that hag Merkel, aka Mutti, as they call her, mom in German. But this is really pulling a big base of support from the EU. They need that in order to stay intact. And with Britain gone, there's really no incentive for the other big states to remain. So I fully expect the EU to start crumbling rapidly and probably to be non-existent within about 4 to 5 years if this happens.
Well, you know, they're already rallying their forces to try and establish the North American Union to carry on the important work of globalizing the planet. But that one has sort of had it's not getting the traction that the original EU did. And I think because of what happened to the EU and what happened to Europe, especially with all the forced migration, I think this idea of these large multi-state unions and globalization, I think it's had its day. It's definitely on the endangered species list.
Oh, I think it has. They pushed too far, too fast, and I think it in Europe. I think they have awakened a sleeping giant. You know, states like Austria are not on board with this thing.
No, they're not.
You've got some. I'm not sure why they elect some of the politicians who do what they do, but the big states, specifically the Germany and Austria, Switzerland's not part of the EU, although they're part of the Schengen zone agreement.
Yes.
But the whole thing was a house of straw in the first place. And I've had numerous arguments with my German friends when I was living in Germany and in other visits to Germany about the EU, and they were about split down the middle. The big argument for the EU was, well, we need to have everybody working under one roof so that we don't have another war. Well, what's the likelihood that one state's going to go to war against another one right now? You know, it's the arguments for the EU initially were all economic. But what happened with the EU was that it very quickly evolved into a monster in which the bureaucrats in Brussels began to dictate to the member states. And these people were not elected at large to do what they're doing, and for some unknown reason, they were able to grab power and force other states into compliance with the assistance of that hag Merkel, and of course with the assistance of Macron and his predecessor. But this whole thing, I think, is just going to unravel very quickly, and I think it'll be very good news for all of Europe. Perhaps the member states can regain control of their boundaries, kick the damn migrants out, and go back to being Europe.
I would absolutely agree with that. And again, looking at what happened to Europe under the European Union, I'm hoping that Americans are going to take a look at this stepping stone to the North American Union called the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which is being touted as a great policy victory for Donald Trump. But it says right in there that this opens the way for regional panels to be in charge of our economy. Not elected officials, not people we vote for, but you know they're trying to basically set the same model up that they had in the EU. And the people in Europe were rather stunned to find out that it was the plan all along for Brussels to mutate into this central dictatorship, and they got suckered in by the promises of Schengen and you know, the common currency, and it was going to make their lives better. And instead, it made their lives a lot worse. And if you look, especially with this open borders policy that they enforced in the EU and they're trying to enforce here, it's destroying the best part of the cultures that we grew up in.
Oh, it's not only destroyed the cultures, but it's done damage to the economies as well. Many Britons have complained because you've got an influx of Central and Eastern Europeans who've come in to work for far lower wages than native Britons, and now they find, well, I can't find a job because I have somebody from Poland over here who's working for half of what I would have worked for before. So the whole thing really is nothing more than a way to just force countries to their knees by allowing the free flow of capital and human capital in particular across national boundaries. Nothing good can come of that there. Nothing good come of it there, and nothing good can come of it here as well.
Well, I agree with you on that. And, you know, the issue here is how many of these illegal migrants are coming across our border, not with the expectation of finding work and earning money, but because of promises of free stuff. And ultimately,
yeah.
we, the American people, pay for all that free stuff so the Democrats can go on out there and, basically bribe the illegal immigrants to vote Democratic.
Well, you see the same thing in Europe with Northern Africans coming in to the European states because they don't want to work. They want to be taken care of.
Yes.
And it's the same thing here. If you give somebody the incentive to do that, they'll do it. Absolutely. And what's happened now is that the great cultures of Europe have been overrun, and our own culture here is in danger as well. I hope this works out very well. I hope that Boris Johnson gets just a commanding lead in Parliament and just runs Jeremy Corbyn and these others right out of the country.
Well, it looks like it's happening. And again, Boris Johnson's just simply campaigned on saying, vote for the Tories, vote for the Conservatives, we'll get Brexit done. And that apparently was the issue that was uppermost in the minds of the British voters because they already voted to leave the EU once before. And I imagine they got pretty annoyed seeing their own government betray and ignore their express wishes. Well, we'll
they
see what
voted
happens
on that. What was it?
Boris
3 or 4
Johnson.
years
All I
ago.
can say, I hope he's wearing his Kevlar undies because he's now a target for the Remainers.
Well, I think he has a very thick hide. Good luck to Boris. Good show, Mike.
I second that motion. Thank you for the phone call, Kelly. We're going to let you go and switch over to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I just want a friendly reminder here. If anyone wants to view that Vice President Pence's speech at West Point, where he was talking about a multinational war front where the U.S. boys graduating would soon be sent overseas to wage these wars. And one thing I never liked was the fact of where a lot of people want to claim to be or have this victimhood. And to relate to that, this is like a person in the neighborhood that robs a liquor store and gets shot by the cops and can't afford to pay his hospitalization. And so the town is supposed to take up a collection for him. But this is what has happened. The article out of the LA Times, how the United States has overthrown 81 governments up to the year 2000, and you can add on to that now. This is what has been done in our names around the world. If you, out here on RBN, if you want to listen to the callers and want to hear them bitch about events that are going on in the world, you have to take into consideration all those people in those countries that have had to put up with the same overthrowing of their governments. And it's all done by the political establishment of which we, the people, have no control over whatsoever. And this is, you're talking about Central America where over 257 million people work for less than $1.50 a day, some only $1.90 a day. And this was all done through the CIA to keep make sure that the labor unions were busted, the land was stolen so that these big, huge corporations could mine off all their properties and stuff. And so, like I say, if Americans get a little indignant when they hear someone like, say, Iran screaming death to America, well, you should understand why they do it.
It goes all the way back to 1953.
Yeah, it does. And it's sad because a lot of people, like say, they don't want to look at the full picture there, and they want to play this continued victim status. Well, if you want change in this country, the only way to do it there is, of course, is to, like your one caller says, get people off their butts and get them out doing something, because nothing's going to change otherwise. So, anyway, that's all I had for you. Anyway, my best to you.
All right. Well, thanks. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open. Getting on back to the international news. Apparently, Japan is sending a message to China by way of a mammoth warship that will deploy on a 3-month tour through the contested waters of the South China Sea. And reports are suggesting that this new baring of the teeth comes as Beijing attempts to buff up its claim to sovereignty over the region, of which some 7 nations claim a degree of ownership. Well, that is how wars get started. All right, let's get that up there. All right, another story. This came out of Zero Hedge. North Korea says the U.S. has nothing to offer if the nuke talks resume. And they're absolutely correct. And part of that has to be with the ongoing experience with trying to negotiate with the U.S., where the attitude coming from the U.S. is always, give us what we want first, and then maybe we'll do something nice for you. And North Korea is saying, it's obvious at this point, the United States has got nothing to offer. There's nothing nice they can do. So it's by bluff and by bluster. And by the way, there's been another so-called defector coming forward saying, you know, Kim Jong-un is never going to give up his nuclear weapons. And so they're trying to fan up the flames of a military intervention in North Korea. I mean, we're still technically stuck in the last Korean War, and they want to get back into that one. And by the way, Kim Jong-un would be an idiot to give up his nuclear weapons, given the current geopolitical climate. All right, we're going to take a break from the commercial. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com. The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
In the night, without a fight, you can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And for those of you who are going to continue listening to RBN after I sign off in about 5 minutes, Steve Elkins and Vince Finelli are taking over for John Stadmiller tonight. So that is probably going to be a rollicking good time for all involved. So you may want to stay tuned for that one here. All right, getting on back to the news here. Apparently, the House of Representatives approved on Wednesday a $738 billion, with a B, setting U.S. policy for the U.S. Department of Defense on everything from family leave to fighter jets and the creation of a space force that has been a priority for President Donald Trump. Now, the count in the Democratic control chamber was 377 to 48, enough to send the conference report on the National Defense Authorization Act to the Senate, where they're expected to vote by the end of next week, and Trump will, of course, immediately sign it. But Trump gets his Space Force. I think it's a big mistake. And apparently, in the reconciling of the House and Senate versions of the current NDAA, those few safeguards and anti-war provisions that were in there got stripped out. So basically, Congress has just handed this blank check to the Pentagon without any controls on what they can do with the money. Meanwhile, the Pentagon isn't sure what to do with Turkey's undelivered F-35s. So Congress is offering the Defense Department the option to purchase the F-35 Joint Strike Fighters that were supposed to be going to Turkey, and giving the Defense Secretary discretion to spend up to $30 million to store the fifth-generation jets until a plan for their use is formalized. And this is in the National Defense Authorization Act for 2020. All right, so let's talk about the U.S.-Mexico-Canada treaty, if you will. Now, President Trump said he was going to get us out of NAFTA, said he was going to renegotiate it, then he was going to rebrand it. And he signed the rebranded, repainted, and refurbished agreement, now called the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, at the G20 summit in Argentina on Sunday. And this new agreement actually expands the globalist NAFTA agreement and installs the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development as a core. The same agenda Trump claims to be pulling the U.S. out of. It's called regionalism. Globalists want this 1,800-page, sovereignty-killing, unconstitutional document for a government ruled by unelected commissions, forming a European-style union in this hemisphere. Now, each country must ratify the document before it can take effect. So now is the time to contact your member of Congress and tell them, say no to the USMCA and get out of NAFTA. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for the John Stadmiller Show. Like I said, Steve Elkins and Vince Finelli are taking the microphone for John tonight. Please spread the word about RBN. Spread the word about whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate to both of us. We really need the help. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.